All right, welcome back to Gators Game Day Live post-game show after Florida upsets Ole Miss. I'm in the Raymond James press box. USF took 41 seconds to score on their first drive. They're about to score again, but I think we want to talk a little bit about the Gators here. Gives you your general thoughts on the game. Really, really good performance from Florida. Obviously, getting a 24-17 victory against the top 10 team in the country.
Yeah, Billy Napier wins the two biggest games of his tenure back to back. Getting that vote of confidence from the AD and then putting two performances like this shortly after is just huge for changing the outlook for his tenure. I think we were skeptical. We were pretty much out on him, written him off, and I think he's had two statement wins where he's looked good on both sides of the ball. Offense, defense, making adjustments, seeing creativity. Probably the biggest thing that jumped out to me was Florida being able to rush four and get pressure on Jackson Dart and get sacks that killed Ole Miss drives, made him uncomfortable, led to picks. What about you, Seth?
Yeah, no, I think that was kind of our key to the game was I think you talked about sacks being the stat to look for. That if Florida could only win one stat, that sacks might be the one that would win the game. I'm not sure what the final tally was, but it felt like Florida is able to get just as much, if not more, pressure on Dart than Ole Miss was able to get on Bagway. So, that was kind of what you were kind of hoping to see if you thought Florida could win, and they were able to pull it off. So, really well done. Didn't give up too many explosives on defense. Really kind of dug into the bin, but don't break, and did enough to get the victory against what I think is a really, really good team.
Agreed. I think Ole Miss is a really good team. Getting those defensive havoc stats, that made the difference in this game. And especially from the interior D-line, I don't think, going into the season, we felt pretty good about Jackson and Banks, but this has just been – they've been playing lights out the past 2 weeks. It's been impressive.
Yeah, and I thought Florida put out a couple nice wrinkles. Offense wasn't great in the second half, but they did have a couple nice wrinkles on that touchdown drive to kind of.
After further review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. First down, South Florida.
Sorry, I was hearing the review here in the stadium. A couple nice wrinkles on that touchdown drive to kind of get the winning score. So you get DK. I'd have to see it over again, but it looked like they had him running to the corner like he does a lot on a flood route. It could have been like they do sometimes where they run like smash, where you got the quick speed out in the corner. But then he broke it back across the field. The safety tried to jump the corner, and he beat him across face. And then going Wildcat with the tackle over in the low red zone there. Florida went tackle over a couple times in the second half, and Ole Miss didn't line up to it really well. So pulling that out for the crucial touchdown was a really, really big call. So really good stuff, I think. The last 2 weeks, you've seen some more advancement in the offense in terms of like moving beyond the base stuff, which is interesting because you have a first-year quarterback, but they're getting to stuff where they hadn't quite got there with Richardson in his first year or Mertz in his first year. So I think Lagway is probably just that guy.
Yeah, I liked breaking out the tackle over when they did in the red zone there, where you really needed 7. So tackle over, we moved Austin Barber, who's our left tackle. We moved him over to the right side. He was part of that bunch that was over there on the right side where Johnson, who was in the Wildcat, so he's taking the snap. He ran.
Naquan, right? Makes it into the end zone.
And you could really see Barber getting just cleaning out the defensive end there. And so that's part of what opened it up and led to that touchdown there. And then on the big DK pass on that one, you're talking about a smash, so that's, when you get the little bit of the post, and instead we did the little post or
the corner and the corner
instead
post,
of a corner,
yeah.
We did a corner post.
Yeah.
And broke it back toward the middle of the field. And I think JP Gator showed us an example that we'll probably tweet out where we ran something similar in the orange and blue game this year for a touchdown to Wilson. So,
and they've hit I think they hit that earlier this year as well against somebody. So it's a staple if that's the one. I haven't gone back to see the original play, but that wouldn't shock me if it was that one that they like to do. But it was off play action, which they usually do it drop back with 4 guys out in the route. So a little bit different. I think a little bit of a change up, but probably pretty close to what JP thought. Have you looked at the stats? Does anything really stick out to you?
Yeah, I think for both teams, you saw a lot of regression. The defenses played much better in the second half for both teams. Both ended up in EPAs around 0 at the end of the day. Florida ended up having the advantage on yards per dropback. Ole Miss had the advantage on success rate. Our run game looked a little bit better, but neither was particularly good. And then you go down the stat sheet, and where it actually you start getting the differences is in the red zone and havoc plays. So that's your tackles for loss, sacks, interceptions, which the last 4 Ole Miss drives, they spinned out. I think it was sack, killed a drive, tackle for loss, sack, interception. We ended those 4 drives really well.
Interception, right?
Yeah.
So Josh has a question. What do you think is the reason for the lull in the third quarter? I mean, I think some of it was you were not able to get like this Ole Miss front. I think if you get predictable down and distance, they're really tough to deal with. So I think when you didn't hit some runs early and you got in second and long and then tried to be aggressive, but that allowed them to kind of pass rush, which is their specialty. So I think some unfavorable down and distance, and then you tried to get. I know that first drive, you come out and try to throw, you get the holding call, then you get I'll get backed up again, and then so the next drive you try to hit the perimeter a little bit. They play it really well. You try to toss it out, they played it really well, and then both the screens, neither screen went. And then I'd like to see the arm angle on that second screen. It's almost like Lagway threw it underhand. It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
he bent down. His arm was like parallel to there. It was wild that he got that ball out.
Submarine pitcher. I thought he was spiking it.
Yeah, so did I. And then he threw like a riser, like a softball or something. So I don't know, man. That dude's different. And I think if you got him back there, you got a chance to win a lot of games, which – it's wild to think that, if you start him earlier in the year, what's your record? Is it that much better, or did he need this time this season? Because he seems like he's just that dude.
I mean, it's easy to be really excited for Florida going forward. I think people are still allowed to have gripes with Billy. There were stuff that you can be upset about, but I'm just going to, I think somebody commented, does anybody want to fire Billy back now? The thing is, nobody should be talking about that right now. What we should be talking about is Florida has looked freaking awesome the past 2 games, and we've gotten some momentum and enjoy it. And anybody who wants to squabble and butt heads and prognosticate on who should be fired, this is not the time for that right now. We only get so many games a year to celebrate like this.
And you're relatively healthy going into a game against FSU. Where you feel pretty good. You win that one, you go 7-5 against the schedule. I heard somebody, the Florida's 5 losses are the top 15 teams. I mean, that's tough. So
was we talking about Braylon Presley?
It'll probably end up being 5 losses to top 20 teams, because Texas and Texas A&M do play next week, depending on what happens with both those teams today. But yeah, I think before the year when we were talking expectations, it was. To me, I thought, I may have even said I'll have to go back and find it, but, I thought if you make a bowl game, win a bowl game, and Lagway's you're starting, like you win a bowl game with Lagway going off in the bowl game, that would be a lot to go, into the offseason, a lot of great momentum. And it seems like that another big recruiting weekend. So a lot of guys on campus to see that, and they're not just seeing, you kind of luck your way out. These last 2 games, they've played really well and have not gotten lucky. They've just kind of beaten some really good teams. So,
yeah.
I think the post-game win expectancy last week was like Florida 85% or higher. I'd be interested to see what it is this week. This was not like last week where it was all explosives. So I think you probably played better than you did last week against a better team. So you end up getting the result.
Agreed. I mean, Seth, we're looking at very realistically ending this season with 8 wins. We had a over-under Florida wins at 4.5, with a bowl.
As was intended for Cam Benjamin.
That's incredible.
2nd and 10.
And then it's going to be really interesting looking at the portal, looking at who you can get to come back. But I think having Lagway, some of the young studs on defense, offensive line has looked pretty good. Ranked Florida is an interesting one. I think you would see a lot of kind of advanced metrics like Kelly Ford's power rating. Like
they're on that borderline, like that 25 borderline in a lot of these power rankings, and I'm sure they'll go up after this week.
Yeah, I expect us to be 2025. I'm going to be really interested when I do my adjusted EPA per play where we end up. We were in a bad hole after week 3, and it's just kind of hard to crawl out of that. But I think we'll probably see Florida move up significantly, probably into that good quadrant, which is crazy. They've steadily improved both sides of the ball. It's been impressive.
Yeah, and some of the guys that I think fans were not quite sure on the evals and the portal have really come. Like Caleb Banks has been unbelievable the last few weeks. Gums has gotten much better as the season's going on. Harrison, we're going to need some help on the DL next year. Yeah, because Banks, I think, is a guy that is probably going to be going the way he's been playing as of late.
Yeah.
And you lose Cam Jackson as well. I think he was part of the senior day festivities today. So you're either going to have to Florida Victorious is going to have to do a nice membership drive here, or those guys are gone. But with some momentum, it seems to be very important in recruiting, and the program has a lot of positive momentum right now. So if they can turn that into some recruiting wins, like they did a little bit last week, but some bigger fish coming up here and in the portal, you got the makings of having a pretty decent team next year. So.
And Seth, we haven't talked about it, but I called it on our preview pod. I said I think Florida's going to win this game. And
you did. I did not think they would be able
that
to.
That last play was a sack fumble.
Keep the pass rush off.
Caused by number 11, DJ Harris.
Naquan Wright, former Gator Naquan Wright scored this game here, by the way, while we were on. So Gators are winning all around here. So, but yeah, I didn't think they'd be able to protect Lagway as much as they did. And I think Florida had a good plan. They didn't ask them to drop back a ton in long extended dropbacks. They even, the screen touchdown in the first half was out of nowhere. Now they didn't hit any other screens the rest of the game, but they did attempt them. So you saw the plan. The plan wasn't to have him drop back a bunch and get killed. I think he only threw the ball like 9 times in the first half. So I think they had a good plan to protect him, and I just thought Ole Miss would be able to tee off a little bit more, knowing, that.
Oh, did we lose Seth or did we lose me?
No, a buddy tried to call me. So, yeah.
I thought Florida's ability to run the ball, that was a huge surprise, and it did a couple things. It really shortened that game.
Yeah.
That was a huge part of it. The announcers were griping at the end, like, "Oh, Florida needs to be milking the clock."
No, I
didn't have any problems with that. Like,
I didn't think. First of all, Ole Miss had 3 timeouts, but to me, like when you got the ball back with just almost a little bit under 6 minutes, the goal is go down and get any points you can. If you get a field goal, the game's over.
Points. Make it 2 scores. Yeah.
Because Ole Miss offense. Now you did a great job defensively last few drives, but that's not an offense you want to be like, yeah, we're gonna totally stop them. There's no problems. Yeah. So I would not have. I didn't think of this. I thought it was a little too early to start playing the clock game because there's a very real chance they go down to score and you need some time to go get a winning field goal or something. So.
Oh, what's up, dude? You want to come say hey? Come over here. I got my little buddy. He just woke up from a nap. He missed the whole game.
Well, you're gonna have to start giving him Benadryl or NyQuil every week now.
Yeah. Luckily, FSU's past his bedtime, so
there you go.
Well, yeah. I think we kind of called it as, the pressure we were able to generate on Dart really threw him off, killed drives, ended up generating picks. The bend don't break defense that we talked about, it seemed like that strategy worked extremely well again with an effective run game. All of that shortened the game, kept it low scoring, and that worked in Florida's favor, and ultimately we were able to get a win.
Yeah, it seemed to go kind of, we talked at the end because you thought, hey, Florida could really win this. We talked, what's the path to winning? And they kind of were on that path. Don't let Ole Miss score explosive touchdowns. For the most part, they made them drive the length of the field to score. And and then were able to convert when they got in the red zone. So it's about finishing drives, and Florida did a little bit better job of it. But, really good win. Really
Bryce Archie takes the
happy
ball to
for
the 21.
Napier and the players.
Second down.
So really good stuff. Anything else, bud?
I don't
Maybe. I guess Clayton. I got to give Clayton his props. He was talking about it in the preview show this week.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was Clayton. So
Michael Brown Stevens.
Clayton, I hope you hit the money line like we told you, my man.
Yeah,
because that was a great call.
Well, no, I mean, everybody should celebrate. Everybody should be really happy of the coaching, the players. That was a complete game. I'm really proud to be a Gator, and it's fun to celebrate these.
Yes, great game. We'll be back next week to preview Florida State.
That should be a fun one.
That should be a lot more fun preview. Yeah. So they were struggling with Charleston Southern, who I think is a bad FCS team, not even a really good one. So if everyone's healthy, you should have a good week next week too. So thank you guys for joining us post game. We'll be back next week to preview Florida State. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
USF